Hello, my gems. We are working on our angles and relationship video notes, your midterm review number 5. You're going to go through each one of these problems here watching this video and completing the notes. And then when you are finished with the notes, you can go onto Canvas and you will see your 5 question quiz over these same topics. So let's get ourselves started. I'm going to go like this so that it's not as see-through here. Okay. Number 1, if n is parallel to m, find the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2. So this is kind of a crazy looking picture here, but I need to use my angle relationships in order to figure out this problem here. So remember, when we're talking about parallel lines that are cut by a transversal, actually I guess I should do it, I'll do it down here. Parallel lines cut by a transversal. Right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 angles here. And in these angles, you know angle 1 and angle 4 have to be the same because they're vertical angle, and then you've got some relationships down here. Essentially, it's just me copying and pasting down below. So 5 and 8 are the same. And so angles 1, 4, 5, and 8 are congruent. Same with the other angles, angle 2, angle 3, angle 6, and angle 7. And that's if these lines here are parallel. So we're going to use those ideas to figure out these questions here. So it says line N is parallel to line M. So these two here are parallel. So I've got some parallel lines and I've got two different transversal lines. I want to find the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. So I have to do a little bit of work here. First thing I see is here's angle 1. And I notice that it's directly across from this angle 60 over here. These angles make an X. They're directly across from each other. They're non-adjacent. These are called vertical angles. So vertical angles are congruent. So since this one's 60, that means angle 1 right here is also 60 degrees. I can do the same thing over here. I see that this is 20 degrees here, which means this one over here is also 20 degrees. And so even though it's not necessarily an angle that I'm being asked for, the more information you can put into your picture, the better. Now, what I also notice is there's a triangle right here. Right triangle A, B, C. This is a triangle. I know 2 of the angles of the triangle already, and I know if I add all the angles in a triangle together, I should get 180. So to figure out angle 3 right here, I'm going to add together 20 and 60, and I'm going to subtract it from 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 20 plus 60. And that's going to give me angle 3. So 20 plus 60 gives me 80. And 180 minus 80 gives me 100 degrees. So I know angle 3 is 100 degrees. Good, so we're getting closer and closer to figuring out what this angle 2 is. Now, I don't know angle 2 at the moment, although actually if I look, here's a pair of parallel lines. Here's my transversal, it intersects the 2. I notice that this angle 2 and this angle 20 are alternate interior angles. And I know that alternate interior angles are congruent. So since this angle down here is 20 degrees, that means this angle 2 is also 20 degrees. Now I don't actually need to figure out angle 4, but if I wanted to, I could very easily, because I know that if I put together angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4, right? If I add angle 2, 3, and 4, I should get a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So I could figure out that angle 4 really easily if I wanted to. Oh, that's a bad pen choice. That's also a bad pen choice. Oh my goodness. I could figure this out because all I would have to do is add 20 and 100, that gives me 120, and subtract it from 180. So I get 60 degrees. So this angle here is 60. I could figure it that way. I also noticed angle 4 and angle 1 are alternate interiors, so they're also congruent. A lot of different ways to figure out the same problem. Now the question asks me to find the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2. Oops. So the measure of angle 1 was 60 degrees, and then the measure of angle 2 was 20 degrees. So 60 degrees plus 20 gives me 80 degrees. So I do have to use those relationships to help me out with that problem. Number 2 is very similar. Again, I'm going to figure out some values here, but it says, what is the value of x? So this time I'm trying to find this angle x over here. Now, I notice that I've got a 90-degree angle right here, which is a right angle, which is great. I also notice that I have some vertical angles, right? So this angle here and this angle here are vertical angles. Additionally, this angle here and this whole angle here are also vertical angles. Now I know vertical angles are congruent. So one of the things I already see here is that this blue, these two angles together, plus this angle over here, these ones are vertical angles, so they're congruent. So I can set them equal to each other since they're congruent. So I'm going to do 5y plus 10 equals, and then this whole angle. Well, this whole angle is y plus 90 degrees, or 90 plus y. Then I've got myself an algebra problem I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to get all my y's on the same side. I'm going to subtract y. I always like to move the smaller y so that I don't have to deal with negatives. Then to get the y by itself, I'm going to move the constant over from the left to the right. So I'm going to subtract 10. So I get 4y equals 80. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to get my y alone. I get y equals 20. Now that's great, but I'm trying to figure out what x is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 20 over here. Or, well, yeah, I can do that. Right? Okay, so 20 times 5 gives me 100. 100 plus 10 is 110. Okay, so I've got a couple different ways that I can go about this. I know this blue angle here is 110 degrees. That means this whole angle here is also 110 degrees. So I know that the y was 20, I know that this was 90, so I've got a couple different choices here. I could set these two equations equal and figure out what this one is first, or I notice that right here I have a linear pair. I know if I add this 110 angle plus this pink angle, I should get 180. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 3x plus 7 plus 110. I'm going to set it equal to 180. Okay, so I'm going to do 3x. I'm going to combine my like terms. 110 and 7 is 17. And then I'm going to subtract 117 from both sides, right, to get the x all by, ooh, you can't see, to get the x all by itself. 6, so this is 3x equals, this is 63, and then I divide both sides by 3, I get x equals 21 degrees. So my final answer, the value of x is 21 degrees. Okay, next one. What is the length of BC? So what you're going to notice here is I have a triangle. I've got two sides that are congruent, they're marked. I know that this side must be congruent because it's the reflexive property. I'm also given a 90-degree angle. That means if there's 90 over here, there has to be 90 over here. These are congruent triangles. This right here is a perpendicular bisector. It cuts it in half. So since I'm cutting my triangle in half, that means everything about the triangle should be the same on both sides. So not only are these sides the same, but also I should have a third pair of congruent sides. Now, because these sides are exactly the same, I'm going to just take the two equations and set them equal to one another. And then I'm going to solve. Right, which makes my life super simple. It's just a little bit of algebra. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 6y from both sides.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. If you are catching a bus, it is time for you to start making your way to the bus circle so we can get you on your way. Everybody else that is on campus, you need to be in front of the school or
now
catching a ride on the bus.
Add 60 to both sides.
In the next few minutes. So again, if you are catching a ride out front or if you are walking home, it is time to go home. Please be safe as you are on your way.
This is what I get for doing it after school, guys.
It is time
Sorry.
to be heading to the bus circle. We again are shutting down the campus in the next few minutes. Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Please be safe.
Okay. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 12. And I get y equals 4, but I'm not going to stop there because the question asks me what is the length of BC. So I need to come over here to BC and I need to plug in my value of 4 into this equation. So the equation for BC is 18y minus 60, and wherever I see a y, I'm going to substitute in my 4. So 18 times 4 gives me 72, and 72 minus 60 gives me 12. So my segment for B to C is 12. You also could have plugged it in over here and you should have gotten the same answer, right? Because these are congruent with a perpendicular bisector, cuts it in half. So since it's being cut in half, the two are congruent. Okay, next one, number 4. Given triangle ABC and triangle DEC, which value will make triangle ABC congruent to triangle DEC according to the angle, side, triangle congruence theorem? So I already noticed I'm given one angle that is marked in both pictures that is congruent. I also know that right here at C, I have vertical angles. So I have my 2 angles given to me, right? Now, to use the angle, side theorem, I need to pick the side that is not touching the 2 angles. So here are my 2 angles. I'm not going to pick this side because this one's touching both angles. That would be angle, side, angle. I need to pick the side that is the non-included side. So that's going to be this one over here, 2y plus 98. Same thing for over here. Here's my 2 angles. So the side that is not included is this side over here. Now, because they are congruent, that means these two have to be equal or the same. So to solve for y, I'm going to take my 2 equations and just set them equal to each other. And then I'm going to solve for y. So first thing I'm going to do is get all my variables on the same side. So I'm going to start by moving my smaller variables. So I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides. I get 7y plus 7 equals 98. Then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides to get all my constants on the same side. I get 7y equals 91. And then my final step is I'm going to divide both sides by 7. I get y equals 13. There's my final answer. Okay, so making sure you're reading the question and are really careful about choosing the correct side. Number 5, in triangles ABC and DEF, 2 of these segments are congruent and then another 2 pair of segments are congruent. As soon as I see something that looks like this and I don't have a picture, I'm going to draw a picture first every single time. So I'm going to draw 2 triangles that look the same. I'm going to label it A, B, C, and then whatever order I do over here, I'm going to do the same order over here. So A, B, C, D, E, F. Now I'm going to mark the things that are congruent. So it says AB is congruent to DE. Boom, boom. AC is congruent to DF. And I put 2 tick marks because this is my second side. Given that the measure of angle A is less than the measure of angle D, so this angle here has to be less than this angle here. So I'm just going to put in a random number. And I'm going to make sure that my angle A, I'm going to give it 20 degrees, is less than my angle D, which I'm going to give my 80 degrees. Okay. I'm also given that EF is 16. Which of the following could be the measure of BC? So I'm trying to figure out this side over here. Now, I know that because this angle is smaller than this angle, this is my smaller triangle, and this is my larger triangle. So everything over here should be less than or smaller than this side over here. Now, since this side is 16, I need to pick a number that is less than 16. So if I come over here, 18 does not work, that's bigger. 22 is bigger, 11 is less than, and then 17 is bigger. So my answer is 11. I'm picking the one that is less than this one because this is my larger triangle. Okay, last one. What is the measure of angle 2? Again, you see here you've got some parallel lines, and I should have marked them because T and U are parallel. I've got two transversal lines. R and S are both my transversals. So they cut through. Now, I'm gonna need to do a lot of like figuring out here to figure out what this angle 2 is right here. So anytime I see an equation, that's gonna always be the first thing that I look for here. And I see I've got this equation right here is 4x minus 8. Now, I also notice I have this equation over here. These two angles are alternate exterior angles. And I know that alternate exterior angles are congruent. So since these are congruent, I'm gonna set each of these equations equal to each other, and then I'm gonna figure out what my x value is. So that's gonna be my first step. So 3x plus 17 equals 4x minus 8. And I'm gonna solve for x. So I'm gonna subtract 3x from both sides. I always like to move the smaller one. I don't wanna deal with the negative. 17 equals x minus 8. And then move my constant to the other side. I get 25 is my x value. So anytime you get a variable, you should always take it and plug it in. So I'm gonna, sorry about that. I'm gonna plug it in, and it doesn't matter which one I plug it into because these two are exactly the same. So if you wanna plug it in down here, you can do 4 times 25 and then minus 8. That will give you 92 degrees. So this angle here is 92. That means this angle up here is also 92. Now I can do some vertical angles here. If this is 92, hey, guess what? This is 92 and this is 92. Now I see a triangle right here, don't I? I know in a triangle that all three angles should add up to be 180. So I'm gonna figure out this angle right here by taking 92 and 46, adding them together, and then subtracting them from 180. So I'm gonna do 180 minus 92 plus 46. So if I add those two together, I get 138. And if I subtract 138 from 180, I get 42 degrees. So this angle right here is 42 degrees. Now, I also notice I've got another pair right here of vertical angles. So if this is 42, directly across from it is a vertical angle, and vertical angles are congruent. So if this is 42, angle 2 is also 42 degrees. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is figure out this angle 1. I know if I add angle 1, angle 2, and this angle over here, the 92 degrees, I should get a total of 180. So this is how I figured out angle 2. To figure out angle 1, I'm gonna add together 92 and 42, and then I'm gonna subtract it from 180. That's gonna give me what's left over here. So 42 plus 92. So 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, 134. And then if I subtract 134 from 180, I get, that's a 6, 7, this way, 4, I get 46 degrees. So this angle is this angle right here, angle 1 is 46 degrees. And then if I go directly across from it, its vertical angle is also 46 degrees. And guess what? I actually didn't even need to really do that math because look right here, 46 and angle 1, these are corresponding angles. They're in the same position, so they ended up being exactly the same. So the question asks me to find the measure of angle 2, and actually look at that, I did all that work, I didn't even need to do that one. The measure of angle 2 is 42 degrees. Okay, so hopefully that was like a good refresher over angles and their relationships. So you're now gonna go onto Canvas and you're going to take your little 5-question quiz over the same material. So go ahead and you guys can stop the video and start there. Hope you have a fantastic day.